Hey guys, it's Rick from Psychologic, and Fairy Tale Zero is out. Finally, we can see the backstory of how the guild was formed and how Fairy Tale was formed. Now, I'm not mistaken, this is was part of the manga or a separate manga series of Fairy Tale Zero. And I usually don't review Fairy Tale, but I'll watch all the episodes, and Fairy Tale hasn't just been anime that I was like, you know what, let me sit down and review. But since Fairy Tale Zero is just so interesting, and this little art within Fairy Tale 2014, well, it's now 16, but you get the gist of it. So we get to see Mavis, a little bit of Mavis's background. Now I knew some of it, but I wasn't entirely sure on all of it that they portrayed. So Mavis this is a guild called Red Lizard Guild, and Mavis works for this guild. She doesn't work as a wizard, but she is there just to clean up the debt that her father and mother left the Red Lizard Guild. They used to be wizards at the Red Lizard Guild. When they died recently, she said they left some debt to the guild, and Mavis's job is to basically work off that debt. Now, the guild master Z-Self is cruel, so cruel, but he is gonna get what's coming to him. He treats Mavis like dirt, basically like a slave, like literally a slave to the guild. So lovable, one of the most lovable characters, inside Fairy Tale. But he treats Mavis like dirt, and Z-Self also has a daughter named Zira, and Z-Self, Zira. I don't know where Zira come from, but Z-Self and Zira. She has a daughter named Zira, and Zira get treated like a princess. So Zira and Mavis are the same age, just about the same age, and Zira get treated like a princess. Mavis get treated like a slave, and so she loves books. She was very knowledgeable. Her parents was, we can assume that her parents was very smart, educated, and cultured. So they lived on Tanjorama, something island. The island that they was there, remember that Artwood Island? They was there for 7 years, lost in time and space. That island. She lives there, that's where she's from. And we see all these actions happen between Happy and Natsu. They go to this island to train because they haven't been training for a week and things like that. So that's how we get the reveal up to Fairy Tail Zero, which was very interesting. I thought it was going to be another episode of just regular Fairy Tale 2014. But back to Mavis. She lives on this island, and then her parents coach her up and fine, and she likes to read books. But the headmaster don't let her see and read books. He was like, well, you gotta work out there, clean out there. And the whole guild laughs at her. They just make fun of Mavis, which I find really, really cruel, because a guild full of grown men picking on just a little child, a little girl, picking on a little girl. Like, why would you do that? Like, why? I mean, I understand if she was older, I might understand the relation, because people tend to pick on older people of their age. But Mavis, when she's no longer more than 5, 6, and they picking on her, that's cruel. But back onto it. So Zira goes to school, Mavis doesn't, and Zira forgot her lunch one day. The headmaster tells Mavis to bring her lunch, and she's like, oh my gosh, I want to go to school. I want to see the school at least once. And it just makes me smile to see Mavis like that. Even though she has a big head. The characters in there has big heads. But it's cool seeing Mavis like that, so hyped to go to school. You never see that hair, ever. School, forget school, man. But we just see that Mavis reminds me when I was in the trip to Honduras, but that's for another time. And she was like, well, the forest is dangerous, and then the master was like, I don't care if you die, I don't care if you get injured, I don't care if you croak. And then I'm just like, he's just so cruel. He's gonna get what's coming to him. And then we move on later on. She meets Zira. Mavis saves this little creature, and she becomes her this creature. She goes to the library to deliver Zira's her lunch. Zira gets mad at her, saying that she almost missed lunch. But then all her friends that Zira's talking to, start talking to Mavis, and oh, this is such a cute creature, is this your pet? Zira's get jealous, and she started making fun of Mavis. And you can tell that Zira is a cruel, not a cruel person. I think she's that way because the guildmaster is that way to Mavis. But she starts picking on Mavis in front of her friends, and then she started picking on her friends, saying, "You saw her, right? She was just being a wrench, right? She was just being a total like annoying bitch, right?" And I'm just like, okay, okay, interesting. And once Mavis comes back, she tries to go back to the guild. She sleeps, and then she wakes up in the middle of this fight. She sees flares in the sky. It's red. She's like, "Oh no, it's the afternoon." She's like, "Go back to the house," and she's gonna go back to the guild. I should say, Red Lizard Guild, and she finds out that they're having a war with these blue skulls, and everybody's dying in the Red Lizard Guild because they ambushed them, and everybody's dying. Then we see a glimpse of the guild master actually getting cut to pieces by the leader of the Blue Skulls, I could presume. And his final thoughts is like he wants Zira, and then Mavis she sees Zira, she saves Zira and grabs her to the forest, just goes right to the forest, and then Zira is just like, "Let go of me, I want to be by myself, let go of me, blah 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 blah." And then later on she was like, "We can be friends," and then Mavis starts crying because she was like, "Fairies can't come to crybabies," and she started crying. She's like, "Well, I can't see fairies now." So you see that she had this fascination with fairies, and that's later on I'm gonna tell you what that means. And we see Zira falls down, and then it implies that she's dead, but we know that she's not dead because the opening basically tells us that she's not dead. She's not dead. She's at least grows up to like 7 years later, and 7 years. So we have a time skip 7 years later, and then we see the announcer Mavis say that this is the start of Fairy Tale, the start of the Fairy Tale Guild. And then we also see on the boat to the islands. Like 7 years later, everybody is destroyed. There's no more villagers. The only people there you can presume is Mavis and Zira. And then we see the island, these boats of Warwick. You know that tree guy, that one of those strong people, the tree guy that helped help make Fairy Tale. We see some other random guy with some mask that reminds me of Shino, and we have Makarov's father. If you pay attention to they have like the little character descriptions inside there. You know how Fairy Tale used to say what guild they're from or something like that. You see the words Makarov's father. So we have Makarov's father. He was part of making the guild. So I think that's specifically why Makarov got titled to be called the guild, because Mavis is in Makarov, the Makarov father, and then we wanted Guild Arts to be the guild. So Fairy Tail Zero, what do you think, guys? Fairy Tail Zero is just, I can't wait to see the second episode. I just can't wait to see how Mavis got so strong. We see what she endured. We see that the name Fairy Tail comes from because she fascinated with fairies, and her father and mother telling her all these things about fairies. What do you think about Fairy Tail Zero, guys? It has been Veer from Taco Logic.